All right, welcome back to the Tool World podcast. I'm your host, David Jew, and I'm here with Master Jew.
How's it going there, Mr. Jew?
It's going okay.
It's okay.
Yeah.
A little cloudy today.
A little bit, yeah, getting to that fall season.
Right.
Anyways, this week I have a couple questions for you.
Oh, right. You always have a question
Yeah,
for me,
I always
don't
got
you?
a question for you.
That's good. That's what it's all about, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. I want to ask you about the bending ready stance as well as the one leg stance, right? So this kind of came up because we were working on pulling.
Oh,
One
I
leg
see.
stance, movement number 2. And that knee comes straight up, you're lifting the hands. Now, that foot that's raised, is it bladed for the pressing kick or is it flat, right? And that kind of brought up the question about what is that foot positioning and what exactly are we doing in one leg stance or bending ready stance A? So why don't we start there? What is the bending ready stance A used for?
Well, let's start with the bending ready stance A. How's that?
Yeah.
And maybe you could jump in and share your thoughts on it.
Yeah, maybe.
I believe the bending ready stance A is the intermediate position for the side piercing kick. And, you know, it's kind of interesting. It is a stance, but would you actually do that in real life? Sparring?
If someone
Maybe,
tries to sweep the leg,
kinda.
you could lift it, right?
Yeah, exactly. So it's just a position that you could possibly in. But I think it really is the intermediate position for the side piercing kick. So when the leg comes up, the knee's up. And then when you do the side piercing kick, it rotates and all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
And it's a good way to teach the kick itself. Because sometimes you actually see students will actually throw the leg up, but they don't actually chamber it properly. And so then the kick kind of lifts up versus going straight out.
Okay.
And so I think it's a good training tool for that. Yeah, and you can also, maybe in sparring, I probably shouldn't say, is the leg up and you see these guys are bouncing up and down and they're just shooting legs out without sitting the foot down.
Yeah.
Is that like bending ready stance A? Yeah, kind of, I think.
Kind of, but the leg's already turned over.
Right.
So it's just
So it's
coming
more like,
out.
right, so it's not really the bending ready stance A. So I think it's the intermediate position for the side piercing kick. And it doesn't really talk about like side thrusting kick, although side thrusting kick or
side pushing kick. So those are all variations of the side piercing kick. So that's why someone might say, oh, could I use the side bending ready stance A for like side thrusting kick?
Right.
So that's why they might bring that up, is because those are just variations.
You don't see bending ready stance A other in the patterns anyway, other than the side piercing kick.
Right. No, that's true. I mean, in Moo you do have a checking kick into a
Right.
side thrusting kick, which is interesting because side checking kick already means your body's turned to the side. So there's no rotation for the side thrusting kick.
Well, that's the thing too. Like side piercing kick is a kick that rotates. Yapja jorugi. It's a twisting. It's like forward. It's like punching.
So let's bring it back to the foot positioning for the side piercing kick in bending ready stance A.
Am I not answering the question?
No, well, we're going around there. Bending ready stance A. What is that foot that's going to be kicking soon? What are we doing with it?
Well, for the side piercing kick, right, you're going to blade it, and it's going to be close to your knee
Okay.
when you execute the technique.
So
I think if you were going to do the side thrusting kick, and if we were going to do the intermediate position of that, or you're going to do a bending ready stance A, then you would position the foot, and that's actually the way I teach it.
So the foot would be like pointed. Toes pulled back, even if it's aiming down.
Right.
And maybe the body's like turned to the side.
Right.
Okay.
Side pushing kick. Well, side pushing kick is really only performed in a sitting stance, right? And so it's not really rotating because the leg comes up and then out.
Right.
Well, I think we talked about that on one time. We talked about, is it correct to call it a side piercing kick if you're doing step side piercing kick? But remember, side piercing kick does have to have that rotation of the foot. And when people do that particular kick where they just chamber it, and they're not rotating the foot so much, that's really more like a side pushing kick. Just, but it's a variation of the side piercing kick in a way.
Right. You can go back to that podcast there.
Yeah, I have to go back to that podcast. I don't even know which one that one is. We probably talked about that a year ago.
Maybe.
2 years ago.
Maybe.
Who knows?
Yeah. Anyways, let's go to how the question came up, which was the one leg stance. So what is the foot positioning in a one leg stance, and why are we doing the one leg stance?
So
Maybe we'll just start there. Why do we do the one leg stance?
I kind of think that these stances are just stances that are possible. Closed raised stance A or B or C, D. Sitting stance, L stance, they're just stances, and then we defined it. Is it possible to be standing straight up and you bring that leg up? Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
But I think it also, if you're standing straight up, let's just say you're just standing, and someone comes up and you bring that leg up to dodge, like the low kick, you just bring that leg up. You don't go into the L stance, or you could bend that knee and go to the bend raise stance A, or you could just lift that leg, and that would be like a one leg stance. And so like if you think about Po-Wan, well, that's actually in the L stance, and then you lift up into the one leg stance. But it's also a good position for the outward pressing kick. So I think that we don't, that's a good question. I've never really thought about it or talked about it, but do we ever do outward pressing kick with the knees bent? We talked about why the knee should be bent. It's to protect the knee in some ways. I mean, I guess you could do it, but do you ever do it that way?
I'm not sure.
A pressing kick with the knee bent?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
You're not sure?
Hard to say. I guess the question has come up, but now I guess the better question is like, when I'm in that one leg stance, am I blading that foot too? Because like you have like Juche Kodong, where you're going to do a side piercing kick after, and then you have Poen, where you're doing the pressing kick after.
Well,
so you're using the foot sword for both, right?
Right.
Do I blade that foot, or is that foot flat?
Oh, you think about pressing kick. The attacking tool is the foot sword.
Okay.
Still. It's not even very high. But imagine if you bring that leg up and you just shoot it straight out. Do you really need to blade that foot? Because that angle and where you're hitting is hitting with the foot sword.
Okay.
Now, maybe you would blade it and pull the toes back to make it stronger. Can you just bring it up and kick out?
Yeah.
That's a good question, I guess. We haven't really discussed that. I believe that when we do, in patterns anyway, we do the one leg stance, you don't blade it. You just bring that leg up. How do you do it?
Yeah, just bring it straight up.
Right. So the question would be, should you blade it or not blade it? But I think if you think about that logic, how you think about like the kick comes out, that it's very low, it's coming at an angle, and I think you would actually hit with the foot sword without having to blade it.
I think if you think about like bending ready stance A is intermediate position for like side piercing kick, so that's why you would have it bladed, because you're going to do the side piercing kick. It's an intermediate position,
right?
But one leg stance is not necessarily an intermediate position. It just happens that
it happens to be a stance,
and then you do the kick, right? So that means the foot can be flat, and then when you go to the next kick, then you blade it and then you shoot it out. Right, just because it's not the actual intermediate position.
Because you do have consecutive type of techniques, right?
Right.
You do a pressing kick, side piercing kick, right? So you do have to blade the foot on the second kick because you have to use correct tools. And that's really interesting. Like sometimes we have these kicking drills, consecutive kicks, and you do, let's say, offensive hook kick, side turning kick, side piercing kick, side thrusting kick, side front snap kick. And when I'm watching that, someone demonstrating it, it's not just a kick on, but actually if you can see the foot bladed for the different type of technique.
Right.
And if you can see that, then you go, oh, that guy really understands the kicks. And he's demonstrating it. And it's not just flipping the leg out there.
All right, let's know you guys' thoughts on bending ready stance and one leg stance with that foot positioning. As always, don't forget to be safe.
Keep training.
We'll see you guys next time.
That one.